Hi, Pastor Steve here. I want to thank you for listening today, and I want to encourage you because I know that God will truly bless you as you study His Word. So hey, let's get started.
Hey church family, thanks for tuning in to this midweek devotion. We are going to continue on in our series on men and women of the Old Testament. Now so far we've taken a brief look at 3 men and 2 women. And today we're going to be looking at a very important woman that we can find in the Old Testament. This woman, she had a secret. The only other person to know her secret was actually her father's nephew, who was actually the one who raised her since she was an orphan. Even still, this woman became one of the most beloved queens and women in the Bible. Her name was Hadassah, but you probably know her as Esther. Through the years, you have probably heard the story of Queen Esther, but in case you haven't, we'll be doing a quick recap today. In the book of Esther, we see King Xerxes throwing a huge party. This party lasted 180 days, the Bible says. The Bible says that he displayed his vast wealth of his kingdom at this party. At the end of this time, he threw a great banquet that lasted 7 days. However, apparently the king and queen were not getting along so well, for she was throwing her own banquet. At the end of this great banquet, though, the king called for his queen so he could display her beauty before his nobles. She refused, which ended up with her being banished and exiled. Now, this left the king without a queen. So essentially, through a competition of beauty, the king was attracted to Esther more than any of the other women. And so Esther became queen. You can read all about that in Esther chapter 2. But as our story continues, a plot is discovered about an assassination attempt on the king. Esther told King Xerxes of this plan, and the attempt was thwarted. This also gave Esther a little credit with the king. Now, as time went on, another plan arose. However, this time it was an attempt to rid the land of Mordecai's people. Now, Mordecai was Esther's adoptive father, who was also her cousin. This means that the attempt to murder all of Mordecai's people was also an attempt to murder all of her people, the Jews. Now, Queen Esther must find the courage to approach the king with regard to this attempt. However, in approaching the king, she would have to reveal her secret, her true heritage. Now, to shorten the story a bit, Queen Esther finds the courage. She exposes the attempt to murder all the Jews. Mordecai is promoted, and Esther is honored. With Esther, we see a woman who found courage to do what needed to be done for the betterment of her people. However, I want to briefly look at a few other things we can learn from Esther. The first is that our prayers matter. Our voices matter, and our actions matter. We can choose to live with grace and kindness. We can choose to stay involved, to have a voice, to be engaged, and to make a difference in the communities in which we live. Mordecai knew his voice mattered, and Esther knew her actions mattered. Through the wisdom and obedience of these two, God saved his people. However, Mordecai believed that even if Esther didn't help them, God would send someone else to help. Esther chapter 4, verse 14 says that if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. Mordecai had great faith. Our positions in life are not all about us. They are about what God can do through us. What he can do through us in those places in which we live and in the places that we work. Now, our second lesson is that God will give us the courage to do all that he asks us to do. Obedience is vital to his call on your life. We have the power to affect change in our communities that can last for generations. Queen Esther, she had a choice. In order to save her people, she would have needed the courage to stand before the king, to reveal her secret heritage, and to call out one of his top advisors. Now, lastly, pride is a trap, but humility is the key. The huge lesson that we can learn in the story of Esther is that pride is a trap that will eventually lead to our demise. Every character through this book had to decide whether they would choose to live with pride or to live with humility. Esther, she was a queen, and had she lived with pride, she wouldn't have listened to Mordecai. She wouldn't have cared what would have happened to her people. With pride, she wouldn't have risked losing her status or losing her power. However, Esther chose to live with humility. Esther showed great humility by looking to the needs of others before her own. She risked her status, she risked her power, and potentially her life for the sake of others. She considered others much more important than herself. Friends, I would encourage you to look to the story of Esther and learn about courage, learn about living with humility, and to realize your voice and your actions matter. Be obedient to his calling on your life so that he can use you to further his kingdom. Happy studying, friends, and I hope to see you Sunday.
Thanks again for listening today. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like more information about our church, or if you just want to share what God's been doing in your life, drop us a line, give us a call. Again, may God bless you.